My girlfriend said, "I need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready." I respected that until her cousin posted a reel from a beach with her ex's arm around her waist. I didn't text, just transferred the car title back to myself, cleared out her closet, and changed the locks. She came back tan and smiling until her key didn't work and her bags were on the curb. "Before we start, I just want to say thank you for being here. It means the world. But take a look at this. Only 8% of people watching are subscribed. If you enjoy these stories and want to support more of them, just one click makes a huge difference." I should have recognized the pattern. This wasn't the first time Natalie had needed space during our 3-year relationship, but it was definitely going to be the last. 2 weeks ago, I came home from a business trip to find her sitting on our couch, bags already packed. Not the dramatic kind of pack, just a single duffel and her laptop bag. Casual, temporary, or so she wanted me to believe. "I need some time to think," she said, not quite meeting my eyes. "Things have been intense lately." They hadn't been. If anything, we'd fallen into a comfortable routine. I worked my IT security job. She managed her boutique downtown. We had dinner together most nights, watched the same shows, slept in the same bed. Nothing had changed. At least nothing I could see. "Where are you going?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. "My sisters probably, maybe visit my parents for a few days." She stood, shouldering her duffel. "I just need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready." I didn't argue. Didn't beg, just nodded and said, "Take all the time you need." She seemed almost disappointed by my response, like she'd expected tears or demands for explanation. Instead, she got calm acceptance. "I'll text you," she said at the door. "Only when you're ready," I replied. After she left, I sat in our suddenly empty apartment, mentally cataloging what had felt off about that interaction. The packed bags waiting by the door, she decided before I even got home. The vague explanation, intense, wasn't a word anyone would use to describe our recent relationship. The uncertain destination, her sister lived in town, her parents just 2 hours away, yet she couldn't specify. Something wasn't adding up, but I wasn't going to chase answers. I'd respected her request. Space granted. 5 days passed with no contact. I worked, went to the gym, caught up with friends I'd neglected. Life continued, albeit with a Natalie-shaped hole in it. Then came the notification. I rarely use Instagram, but Natalie's cousin Mia had added me months ago. I almost swiped it away. Just another social media alert, but the preview caught my eye. A beach sunset tagged at Tulum. I opened it. A reel of Mia's weekend getaway. Turquoise waters, white sand, fruity drinks, standard vacation content until the 10-second mark when the camera panned across a beachfront restaurant. There was Natalie, laughing in a bikini top and flowing skirt, seated at a table overlooking the ocean. Her hair was different, lighter, shorter than it had been 5 days ago. And beside her, with his arm casually draped around her waist, was Ryan. Ryan. Her ex-boyfriend from college. The one she'd assured me was ancient history and completely incompatible with her current life goals. I watched the clip 3 times, noting details, the familiarity between them, the matching silver bracelets, new, not something either had worn before. The comfortable way she leaned into him. This wasn't a chance encounter between old flames. This was planned. I closed the app without commenting or liking. Then I made a list. First item, the car. When Natalie's sedan had died last year, I'd helped her finance a newer model. The loan was in my name due to her shaky credit history, but we'd agreed she'd make the payments. Title transfer would happen once it was paid off. We'd drawn up a simple contract, both signed it, had it notarized. I pulled the document from my files, reviewing the terms. Paragraph 3, Section B. In the event of relationship dissolution, ownership reverts to the primary loan holder unless otherwise agreed upon in writing. Second item, the apartment. My name alone on the lease. Natalie had moved in 18 months ago, agreeing to split rent. No formal sublease, just Venmo transfers twice a month. Third item, her possessions, extensive but manageable. Mostly clothes, shoes, makeup, books, and electronics. The furniture was mine from before we met, except for a vintage dresser she'd inherited from her grandmother. I spent the next day executing my plan, called the DMV, explained the situation, scheduled an appointment, visited my bank, discussed the car loan, confirmed my sole responsibility, stopped by a storage facility, paid for 1 month upfront. Purchased moving boxes and packing supplies. The following morning, I visited the leasing office of my apartment building. I'd like to discuss security options, I told the property manager. My girlfriend's moving out and I want to ensure a smooth transition. She nodded sympathetically, had probably heard similar stories before. We can rekey your locks for $150, or you can handle it yourself and provide us a copy. I'll take care of it, I assured her. And I'd like to formally note that Natalie Wilson is no longer an authorized resident. Of course, she wasn't on the lease, so there's no paperwork needed. Just confirming for our records. That weekend, I rented a van and enlisted my brother's help. We packed Natalie's belongings with care. No damage, no petty revenge of accidentally breaking things. Each box labeled clearly clothing, shoes, toiletries, books, electronics. The vintage dresser wrapped properly in moving blankets. Everything transported to the storage unit. I kept a meticulous inventory, photographing items as they were packed, proof of condition, proof of possession, proof of care. These would matter later. The car was trickier. According to our agreement, I technically owned it, but Natalie had been driving it exclusively for months. It was currently sitting in long-term parking at the airport, another detail that contradicted her sister's place story. I contacted the parking facility, explained the situation, provided proof of ownership. They agreed to release it to me with proper documentation. By day 9 of Natalie's space, I had transferred the car title fully back to myself, changed the locks on the apartment, moved her belongings to a secure storage unit, updated all relevant accounts and services. Documented everything with time-stamped photos. I hadn't texted, hadn't called, hadn't posted cryptic social media updates, just quietly rearranged reality to match our new circumstances. Space granted, literally. On day 12, my phone lit up with a text from Natalie. Landing at 3:30 tomorrow. Miss you. Talk soon. I didn't respond. Just set a reminder to work from home the following day. At 4:45 p.m., I heard a key scraping unsuccessfully in the lock, followed by increasingly frustrated jiggling. Then knocking tentative at first, growing more insistent. I opened the door. Natalie stood there, golden tan, hair sun-bleached, smile fading as she registered my expression. Behind her sat 2 large suitcases, far more luggage than she'd left with. My tea doesn't work, she said. Confusion evident. No, it doesn't. Her eyes narrowed slightly. What's going on? You needed space. I replied calmly. I'm ensuring you have it. She tried to step forward, but I remained in the doorway. Ryan, this isn't funny. I'm tired from the flight and Ryan. I interrupted. I'm not Ryan. Color drained from her face. I meant I'm just tired. You know what I meant. Your things are in storage unit 247 at Safekeep on Westfield Avenue. Paid through next month. I handed her an envelope. Receipt key, inventory list. The car has been transferred back to my name per our agreement. You'll need to find alternative transportation. Her mouth opened and closed, struggling to process. You went through my things. I packed them carefully. Everything's accounted for, including your grandmother's dresser. You can't just this is my home too. Your name isn't on the lease. You have no legal tenancy rights in this state with our specific arrangement. I confirmed with both a lawyer and the property manager. The flash of her eyes told me she knew I was right. Natalie had always been smart about these things, had probably counted on our informal arrangement when planning whatever this was. Where am I supposed to go? Her voice softened, reaching for sympathy. Perhaps your sisters, your parents, or maybe Ryan has room in Tulum. The mention of Tulum froze her. What are you talking about? Mia should be more careful about what she posts, or maybe tag you directly next time so you can manage who sees it. Natalie's face hardened. You had no right to. No right to what? Believe my own eyes. Respect your request for space by making it permanent. Honor our signed agreement about the car. A neighbor passed by in the hallway, slowing to observe our standoff. Natalie forced a smile, lowering her voice. Can we please talk about this inside like adults? We are talking like adults. Adults who respect boundaries and tell the truth. Fine. She hissed. I went to Mexico with Ryan. It was a mistake. I was confused and needed to clear my head, but I came back to you, didn't I? You came back to a convenient living situation with someone who paid most of the bills. There's a difference. Her eyes filled with tears. Impressive how quickly she could summon those. How can you throw away 3 years over one mistake? The mistake wasn't Mexico. It was lying about where you were going, who you were with, and why you needed space. The mistake was thinking I wouldn't find out or that I'd simply accept it if I did. I stepped back, hand on the door. Your bags are on the sidewalk. The storage facility closes at 8. I suggest you get moving. You can't do this. Where am I supposed to sleep tonight? That sounds like a conversation you should have had before leaving. I replied, closing the door. Through the peephole, I watched her progression through the stages of crisis. Disbelief, anger, bargaining via text messages I didn't answer, and finally resignation as she dragged her suitcases toward the elevator. I didn't feel the satisfaction I'd expected. Just a hollow confirmation that I'd been right to trust my instincts. That night, I ordered takeout, opened a beer, and finally allowed myself to feel the weight of what had happened. Not just her betrayal, but my response to it. Cold, calculated, necessary. My phone buzzed periodically with messages from Natalie, her sister, even Ryan himself, apparently drafted into the effort to reason with me. I read each one without responding. Space granted permanently. Update 3 weeks later. First, thank you for the supportive comments. The situation has evolved in ways I didn't anticipate. After that first night, Natalie launched what I can only describe as a multi-platform campaign to regain access to the apartment. Texts evolved from angry. You had no right to tearful. Please just talk to me to manipulative. I'm staying in my car because I have nowhere to go. I maintained no contact except for a single email detailing the storage unit information again with the addition that I'd paid for a second month. Then came the flying monkeys. Her sister called my workplace. Her mother left voicemails about working through relationship problems like adults. 3 mutual friends reached out, each with suspiciously similar language about hearing both sides. I responded to none of it. The most interesting development came from Ryan himself. A week after the lockout, he sent a lengthy email explaining that Natalie had reached out to him, claiming she needed closure from their past relationship. According to him, she'd represented herself as single, saying we'd broken up months ago. He apologized for his part in the situation, though I suspect his conscience only found its voice after discovering she was essentially homeless. Natalie eventually retrieved her things from storage. Her sister's husband rented a truck and helped. They left the vintage dresser with a note saying, I could shove it somewhere uncomfortable. I donated it to a women's shelter who were delighted to receive such a beautiful piece. The car situation became briefly complicated when Natalie claimed she'd made payments that entitled her to partial ownership. My attorney sent her documentation showing that her payments had covered only 31% of the total amount paid thus far, while the agreement required 50% before any ownership stake applied. She hasn't mentioned it since. As for where she's living now, according to mutual acquaintances, she's staying with her sister, whose husband is thrilled about the arrangement. Ryan apparently wasn't offering accommodations along with his beach vacations. Several commenters asked if I regret the coldness of my approach. I don't. When someone methodically deceives you, packing before you arrive home, creating a cover story about visiting family, traveling internationally with an ex while claiming to need space, they forfeit the right to a warm, understanding response. Had she simply said, this isn't working. I'm reconnecting with Ryan. I would have helped her move out like civilized adults. The lies made that impossible. Since posting this update, several specific questions keep appearing in my messages. For those asking about legal repercussions, there have been none. I consulted an attorney before taking any action, confirming that in my state with our specific situation, no formal sublease, no established tenancy beyond informal agreement. Her maintaining a separate legal residence at her parents' address for mail licensing purposes. My actions were legally sound. Regarding the car. Yes. Our agreement was unusual. It exists because Natalie had specifically requested this arrangement to build her credit independently while having the security of my better interest rate. The notarized document was her idea. A fact that now seems ironic. About the storage unit, I chose this option over simply placing her belongings on the curb because I'm not cruel. Despite her actions, I wanted to ensure her possessions remain safe and accessible. The cost of 2 months' storage was worth avoiding any claims of property destruction. For those suggesting, I should have confronted her immediately after seeing Mia's video. To what end? The evidence was clear. No explanation would change what I saw or how I felt about it. Sometimes silence is more powerful than accusations. Final thought. Many have characterized this as a revenge story. I see it differently. This wasn't about hurting Natalie. It was about respecting myself enough not to accept unacceptable behavior. The fact that it surprised her says more about her expectations than my actions.